ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, defeating domestic and foreign conspiracies. Prime Minister says that Karuna may have given up murdering people, but the Yahapalana cabal has not given up trying to divide the country. Return to full liberty. The island-wide curfew, no more. Uncertain reopening. 1st of August airport reopening plans looks to be grounded. New era. Dumit Fernando appointed as the new chairperson of the Colombo Stock Exchange. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Sunday, the 28th of June, 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Naika. Let's start with your local stories. Now, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa likens the years that followed after the government of good governance came to power in 2015 to having been taken over by a hostile foreign invading force. Delivering a special address on the topic of defeating domestic and foreign conspiracies against Sri Lanka, the PM urged people to have the broader picture in mind when it comes to politics. While also touching on the recent comments of Vinayagamurthy Muralidharan alias Karunamman, Prime Minister Rajapaksa insisted that Karuna may have given up murdering people, but the Yahapalana cabal has not given up trying to divide the country. Making a speech on the topic, defeating domestic and foreign conspiracies against Sri Lanka, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that there was foreign interference to an extent never before experienced in this country at the 2015 presidential election. He says, quote, "The situation that prevailed in this country following the assumption of power by the Yahapalana government in 2015 was akin to having been taken over by a hostile foreign invading force. They systematically persecuted the nationalist political camp in this country. They jailed leading Buddhist monks on trumped-up charges in order to intimidate the Mahasangha, which has always been at the forefront in protecting the sovereignty of this country. They moved to demoralize and render ineffective our armed forces, which defeated terrorism and ensured the territorial integrity of the country. The intention behind all this was to create the impression in the minds of the local population and also to convey to the world the idea that these were not war heroes, but thieves and murderers. The main pledges given by the Yahapalana conspirators to their foreign masters were contained in Resolution 30/1, which the Yahapalana government co-sponsored in the UN Human Rights Council in October 2015. Even though the Yahapalana government was not able to implement these pledges in the manner originally intended, they have introduced new laws to implement them by other means. In August 2016, the Office of Missing Persons Act was rammed through Parliament without leaving room for any debate. All state bodies, including the intelligence agencies and the armed forces, are legally bound to cooperate with the OMP, even in contravention of the provisions of the State Secrets Act. In August 2018, the Yahapalana government passed an amendment to the Mutual Assistance in Criminal Matters Act, which will enable a foreign country or the International Criminal Court to locate suspects or witnesses in Sri Lanka or to obtain evidence they need from Sri Lanka. The UN Human Rights Commissioner has already requested Western countries to institute legal action in their respective countries against members of the Sri Lankan armed forces suspected of war crimes under the concept of universal jurisdiction. My request to the people of Sri Lanka is to always have the broader picture in mind when it comes to politics. Given the threats we are up against, we will be destroyed if we fail to distinguish between what is politically important and politically unimportant. The biggest problem that we had to face after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa came into power was the COVID-19 pandemic. What is politically important is whether that major issue was handled competently. I wish to state that we are right on top in the world in controlling COVID-19. We saw the manner in which the Yahapalana cabal made a hue and cry about a comment made by Karunamman to the effect that he had been responsible for the deaths of thousands of soldiers in attacks on army camps when he was in the LTTE. Those now in the Yahapalana camp gave lorry loads of weapons and gunny bags full of cash to the LTTE in 1989 in a foolish attempt to win them over. The years afterwards, the LTT attacked us with our own weapons. In 2002, the Yahapalana camp virtually ceded the northern and eastern provinces to Prabhakaran through the ceasefire agreement. The Yahapalana government drafted the new constitution to divide the country. Then they incorporated the conceptual framework of that constitution in their 2019 presidential election manifesto as well. From the time Karunamman was murdering people and after he had given up doing so and right up to the present day, what has been right at the top of the Yahapalana agenda has been the division of this country. Karuna may have given up murdering people, but the Yahapalana cabal has not given up trying to divide the country. That is what we have to realize here." Unquote. Now, the government's plans to reopen the country to foreign tourists with the opening of airports on the 1st of August now looks to be shrouded in uncertainty. Minister of Tourism Development, Investment Promotion and Civil Aviation Prasanna Ranatunga said today that the airport reopen date could be pushed back owing to the sheer number of countrymen and women seeking to return to the island. In the meantime, it was announced that schools would reopen in 2 phases, with the first getting underway tomorrow. In a further confirmation of the country returning to normalcy, the curfew, which in one form or another been in effect since the 20th of March, is now completely lifted.
As one of the key measures taken by the government to stop the spread of COVID-19 among the Sri Lankan community, an island-wide curfew was brought into effect on the 20th of March. In time with dwindling numbers of COVID-19 cases, the government relaxed restrictions gradually, and on the 13th of June, the curfew was restricted to just 4 hours from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. With no community transmissions of the coronavirus reported since the 30th of April, the President's Media Division announced today that starting from today, the curfew will be no more. Although no community transmissions of the virus is confirmed for almost 2 months, infections are detected among the overseas returnees and from within the Navy cluster. That said, the country's overall number of COVID-19 recoveries rose by 22 today, taking the figure to 1,661. With the detection of 3 fresh COVID-19 cases today, the overall number of active cases stand at 363. Meanwhile, the total number of naval personnel to recover from the COVID-19 virus also rose by 2 today. It means that out of the 904 naval personnel to have contracted the virus so far, 823 have recovered. In other developments, all schools island-wide that were closed for 3 months will reopen tomorrow under 2 phases. The first phase will commence from tomorrow with all principals, teachers and administrative staff reporting to school in preparation for the reopening of schools. Under the second phase, schools will reopen for students of grades 13, 11 and 5 on the 6th of July. In the meantime, Superintendent of the Homagama Base Hospital, Specialist Dr. Janitha Hettiarachchi says that the Homagama Base Hospital, which was used as a COVID-19 treatment centre, will reopen for the general public care under several phases.
හොමගම රෝහලේ ඇත්තටම 1500ක් වන පිරිසක් දිනකට ප්‍රතිකාර ගැනීම සඳහා පැමිණෙනවා. මේ පිළිබඳ සලකා බලා සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශ මගින් තීරණයක් කරා අධීර වශයෙන් හෙට සිට හොමගම රෝහල සාමාන්‍ය ජනතාවට විවෘත කිරීම සඳහා එදී මූලික පියවර වශයෙන් සියලුම සායන සඳහා සිට සාමාන්‍ය ජනතාව සඳහා විවෘත කරනවා. බාහිර රෝගී අංශය ලබන 30 වෙනිදා අඟහරුවාදා සිට විවෘත කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. නමුත් මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපි වාට්ටුවට ඇතුළත් කරගන්නේ සායන වලින් පැමිණෙන රෝගීන් පමණයි. ලබන 6 වෙනිදා කියන්නේ ලබන සතිය පවන විට සියලුම රෝගීන් සහ මූලික ප්‍රතිකාර ඒකකේ ආරම්භ කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන සම්පූර්ණ වශයෙන් ඒ වගේම ලබන 6 වෙනිදාත් එක්ක අපි වෙනත් රෝහල් වලින් එන ට්‍රාන්ස්ෆර්ස් හෝ 1990 එන ට්‍රාන්ස්ෆර්ස් බාරගන්නේ නැහැ මොකද අධීර වශයෙන් ආරම්භ කිරීම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන නිසා
දැනට වෛද්‍යතුමනි කොවිඩ් රෝගීන් මේ රෝහලේ කී දෙනෙක් විතර ප්‍රතිකාර ලබනවා
දැනට රෝගීන් 30ක් පමණ ප්‍රතිකාර ලබනවා ඔවුන් අපි එක වාට්ටුවකට සීමා කරලා දෙනවා රෝහල විස බීජහරණය සම්පූර්ණයෙන් කර අවසానයි අනිත් රෝගීන්ට සාමාන්‍ය ජනතාවට කිසිම බයක් නැතුව රෝහලට ඇතුල් වෙන්න පුළුවන් මොකද කොවිඩ් රෝගීන් සාමාන්‍ය ජනතාවගෙන් සම්පූර්ණ වෙන් කරයි පවත්වාගෙන යන්නේ.
In the meantime, 344 Sri Lankans that were stranded in Kuwait, Dubai and Belarus were repatriated today. All returnees were subjected to PCR tests after landing at the Bandaranaike International Airport. Meanwhile, Minister of Tourism Development, Investment Promotion and Civil Aviation, Prasanna Ranatunga, expressed views regarding the reopening of airports in the recent future.
අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වුණේ සංචාරක ලංකාවට එන ප්‍රමාණය අඩු වෙයි කියලා. නමුත් එන්න ලියාපදිංචි වෙන ප්‍රමාණය වැඩි වෙන නිසා සමහර විට අපිට අගෝස්තු මාසයේ 15 වෙනි පස්සේ එහෙම නැත්නම් අගෝස්තු අග වෙනකොට තමයි අපිට සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ගුවන්තොටුපොළ විවෘත කරන්න වෙන්නේ. නමුත් අපි උපරිම උත්සාහයක් කරනවා අගෝස්තු 1 වෙනිදා වෙනකොට මේ තත්ත්වය ඇති කරන්න. අපි දැන් උපදෙස් දීලා තියෙනවා පිට රටවලින්ම PCR පරීක්ෂණය කරලා ගෙනාවෙන් පස්සේ කටුනායක ගුවන්තොටුපොළේදීත් කරලා ඒ අය නිරෝධානය කරනවා. වාර්තා වෙනකම් වාර්තාව පොසිටිව් වුණොත් රෝහල් ගත කරනවා. නැත්නම් ඒගොල්ලන් දින 14ක් තියාගන්න 7 වෙනි දවසත් 10 වෙනි දවසත් අතර නැවත වතාවක් ඒගොල්ලන්ව පරීක්ෂණය කරලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට නෙගටිව් නම් ගෙවල් වලට යන්න ඉඩපාසුකම් ලබා දෙනවා.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, calls on the government to declare their plans on how they intend to tackle a possible second wave of the coronavirus, predicted to be much more destructive by the World Health Organization. Speaking at an event held at the party headquarters today, Wickremesinghe accepted that the party backed the government on the initial stages of tackling the virus on merit and that it by no means is a deal struck with the government.
Leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, presided over the launch of a series of digital meetings of the party targeting the general election.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය ආවා. පළවෙනි වටේ වෛරසය පාලනය කරන්න මේ ආණ්ඩුව පියවර ගත්තා. ඒ පියවර හරි නිසා අපිත් ඒ පියවරට සහයෝගය දුන්නා. සමහරු මට කිව්වා මේක ඩීල් එකක් කියලා. මට ඕනේ ජනතාවේ ජීවිතය බේරන්න. ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානය කියන්නේ දෙවනි වටයක් එනවා. දෙවනි වටේ නවත්තන්න බෑ. ඒ නිසා දෙවනි වටෙන් අපි ආරක්ෂා වෙන්න ඕනේ. මේ පොහොට්ටුවේ ආණ්ඩුව අද වෙනකන් දෙවනි වටය ආරක්ෂා කරන ක්‍රමවේදයක් ඉදිරිපත් කළා නැහැ. අපි ගන්න පියවර කුමක්ද කියලා මං අපේ වැඩසටහනේ ප්‍රකාශ කරන්නට යනවා. නිකන් හිස් අතෙන් ඇවිල්ලා සටන් පාට කියන්නේ. අද මේවට විසඳුම් අරගෙන තමයි අපි එන්නේ. අපි පිළිගන්නවා තිත්ත ඇත්ත මිනිස්සුන්ට අපි එපා වුණා කියලා. දේශපාලනය එපා වුණා කියලා ඒකාධිපතිවාදයකට යන්න බෑ. අපේ අරමුණ ආණ්ඩු බලය ලබා ගන්න. පක්ෂ මූලස්ථාන වලට ගල් ගැහිම නෙමෙයි. අපි ඉන්නේ රට පාලනය කරන්න. ඒ වරම අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ. අපි ආණ්ඩුව බාර අරගෙන ජනතාවට සහන ලබලා දෙනවා. ආර්ථිකය ස්ථාවර කරනවා. වෙන කාට හරි වෙන වැඩසටහන් තියෙනවා කතා කරන්න. ආණ්ඩුව කියන්නේ අපි ලෑස්ති. ඒක වාද විවාද කරන්න. සමහරු කියනවා අපි ආණ්ඩුව එක්ක ගිවිසුම් ගහලා කියලා. අපි ආණ්ඩුව එක්ක සම්මුති වලට එළඹිලා නැහැ. අපේ ගිවිසුම තියෙන්නේ ජනතාව සමග පමණයි කියලා මං කියන්න කැමතියි. අපි ප්‍රතිපත්ති දේශපාලනය කරන්නේ මට මඩ ගහන්න උවමනා නැහැ. කරන්න යන්නේ. ඒ නිසාම කෙල්ලීමක් කරනවා. එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයට ඡන්දෙ දෙන්න අලියලංගින් කතේ ගහන්න.
Now, in other stories, nationalist candidate of the Samagi Janabalawege, Harin Fernando, accepts that he had shortcomings in his recent comments about the cardinal, where Fernando accused His Eminence of influencing the Catholic voter base using the Easter Sunday attacks. Commenting about his audience with the cardinal yesterday, the former MP went on to say that the cardinal too conceded to a mistake from his part and accepted that his comments did put one candidate at a disadvantage in the run-up to the presidential election.
Former MP and the nationalist candidate of the Samagi Janabalawege, Harin Fernando, commented about his visit to the Archdiocese of Colombo to meet Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, yesterday at a public gathering which worked off in Kirindivela today.
මට කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් වුණේ නැහැ. මොකද මම මගේ හදවතත් එක්ක දන්නවා මම ඇත්තක් කිව්වේ කියලා. සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයා කතෝලික මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ට මේක ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙයි කියලා මගේ ප්‍රකාශයේ මාව අරන් ගියාද? මම දැක්කේ ඊයේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස නායකයෙක් කරේ නෙමෙයි. මම දැක්කේ මගේ සහෝදරයෙක්.
In the meantime, Fernando also commented the views expressed by the cardinal during yesterday's audience while addressing a public gathering in Mirigama.
සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාසගේ නිහතමානී නායකයෙක් එක්ක අපිට ඉස්සරහ ගමනක් තියෙනවා. මම කියන්නේ ඊයේ දවසේ මාව කාඩිනල් උන්වහන්සේ ගාට ගෙනින් අයියා කෙනෙක් මල්ලිට බයිනවා වගේ මාව පැත්තට ගෙනිලා කතා කළා. ඔබ දැන් මේක කරපම්මයි කියලා. මට ඒතර බෑ කියන්නත් බෑ. දැන් මගේ ආගමික නායකයා මට යත්තක ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. හැබැයි කියලා දීපු කතන්දර වලින් මට මගේ අඩුපාඩුව තේරෙනවා. අපි මිනිස්සු අතර කෘතඥ මිනිස්සු වැරදි කරනවා. වචන කියනවා මම කියනවා මටත් අඩුපාඩුවක් වුණා. කාඩිනල් උන්වහන්සේ මට කිව්වා මගේ අතරින් වරදක් වුණා. අන්න ඒකයි උතුම්කම. අපි දෙගොල්ලම සාකච්ඡා කරලා යකෝ මගේ සමහර ප්‍රකාශ මේ මැතිවරණයට බලපෑවා. ඒකෙන් අපේක්ෂයට වාසි වුණා අනිත් අපේක්ෂයට අවාසි වුණා. මම දැනන් හිටියේ නෑ ඔයා මෙච්චර දුක් වෙලා තියෙනවා මේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට ඔයාගේ පවුලට මෙච්චර ප්‍රශ්න වුණා කියලා. ඒ කතා කරන්න අවස්ථාව හම්බුණා.
Now, the grand finale of Derana Little Star Season 10 took place last night, providing a platform for the young talent of the country to shine. In adherence with health and safety measures, only a limited number of people were allowed to witness the finale live at the venue, given the current context.
Season 10 of Derana Little Star Grand Finale was lit up by an array of performances by artists who rose to fame thanks to the likes of Derana Dream Star and 60 Plus, as well as former participants of the Little Star. Siheli Thuria won the title for Most Popular and Talented Little Star in the Under-8 singing category, while Manuti Nelumya was placed runner-up of the category. Talishi Rinetma was awarded the Most Popular and Talented Little Star in the Under-8 dancing category, while Tisun Danika was placed second. Meanwhile, Danindu Hirunet won the title of the Most Popular Little Star, while the Most Talented Little Star was awarded to Omiru Sandira in the Under-12 singing category. Mavisha Sansadi was the runner-up in the Under-12 singing category. In the Under-12 dancing category, Chatura Nayanajit was crowned as the Most Popular Little Star, while Savindi Nirmani took home the award for Most Talented Star in that category. Vidusha Sahatsara meanwhile won second place.
Now, the final report by the 4-member experts committee appointed to review the proposed Millennium Challenge Corporation Compact is now accessible for the general public, as it was released to public domain today via 3 websites. General public can gain access to this report via www.president.gov.lk, www.presidentoffice.lk or www.pmdnews.lk. The Millennium Challenge Corporation is a U.S. foreign assistance agency established to provide financial assistance to alleviate poverty in underdeveloped countries. This compact, however, came in for heavy backlash and scrutiny from various parties. In such a backdrop, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appointed a 4-member committee of professionals and academics to study and table a cabinet report on the controversial agreement. Submitting its final report on the contents of the MCC compact, signed by the previous government, the panel of experts came to the conclusion that the government of Sri Lanka should not sign the MCC agreement. We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Bear with us. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange has appointed Dumit Fernando as its new chairperson. Reportedly, Fernando's appointment to the position has been approved unanimously, with the appointment set to come into effect from the 1st of July this year. Dumit Fernando has served on the board of the CSE since 2017 and succeeds Ray Abeyewardene, who steps down as the chairman after completing his 3-year tenure. Fernando is chairman of Asia Securities Holdings Private Limited, engaged in corporate finance advisory, stockbroking, research and wealth management, which he has led for the last 6 years. He also serves as an independent director of Union Assurance PLC and Singer Sri Lanka PLC, and as a member of the Economic Policy Steering Committee of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. With 25 years of experience in international and Sri Lankan capital markets, Fernando spent much of his career in global financial centers, New York and Hong Kong, with global banking giants JP Morgan Chase and Credit Suisse. He holds a BA in physics and economics from Middlebury College in the US and an MBA from Harvard Business School. The Monetary Board of the Central Bank has decided to implement a credit guarantee and interest subsidy scheme to accelerate lending by banks to businesses adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. This scheme, which will be launched on the 1st of July, will operate in parallel with the Saubhagya COVID-19 Renaissance Facility and the new facility approved by the Monetary Board under Section 83 of the Monetary Law Act within the already announced threshold of 150 billion rupees. Under this scheme, the central bank will provide a credit guarantee to banks ranging from 80% for smaller loans to 50% for relatively larger loans, enabling banks to grant loans to address working capital requirements of the affected businesses. Now, the central bank says that while it absorbs a significantly higher percentage of the credit risk, banks can extend their lending to vulnerable businesses, focusing on the viability and cash flows of such businesses rather than collateral. Banks are expected to use their own funds, particularly the additional liquidity of close to 180 billion rupees provided by the central bank through the cumulative reduction in the statutory reserve ratio of 300 basis points thus far during the pandemic period, to grant loans to 4% to businesses. The central bank will provide an interest subsidy of 5% to cover the cost of funds of banks. Now, the chief executive of Iberia Airlines says that the national airline will reduce the size of its fleet, the number of destinations it flies to, and how frequently, as the coronavirus pandemic continues to drag on demand. He told that Iberia, part of International Consolidated Airlines Group, wants to extend a temporary layoff scheme for workers until December. Furthermore, Spanish national carrier Iberia is to withdraw 17 A340-600 planes from the fleet. The Madrid-based airline has been losing €7 million per day as lockdowns to curb the spread of the coronavirus have grounded planes. Now, as I said before, looking at the week ahead, Sri Lanka's stock market crossed the 1 billion rupee mark for the third consecutive week last week, or more like Friday, as the S&P SL20 climbed 3.29 points to close at 2,290.85, while the ASPI was up by 17 points. Market turnover on Friday amounted to 1.7 billion rupees. Now, furthermore, the positive momentum which prevailed in the market during the last week is expected to continue in the upcoming week as well. Now, let's take a look at what to expect in the market during the week ahead.
Looking at the upcoming week, we are expecting the positive momentum that was there in the last few weeks to continue, mainly because of the low level of interest rates in the overall market, making the equity market very attractive. Also, with the recent SRR cut and the benefits that arise from that to the banks, we believe that there will be continued investor interest on the banking sector counters, also considering the fact that most of the banks are trading well below their net asset values. In addition to that, we also saw a bit of mid-cap interest in the last week, mainly because of the government announcing some plans to repay the dues for some of the construction sector companies. With that, there was a significant amount of interest in construction and building material shares. That speculation is likely to continue in the upcoming week, as well as investors buy into some of these selected shares. So with that, overall buying interest in, especially among the local investors, is likely to be very positive and is likely to make the market to move on a positive territory. However, on the foreign front, as we've seen continuous outflows from the emerging market, even from Sri Lanka, we expect the net foreign outflow to continue.
Now, with Brazil reporting the world's second highest tally on COVID-19 infections, the government announced that it has made an agreement with the Oxford University and a pharmaceutical company to develop a vaccine for the virus. In the meantime, China imposed a strict lockdown on nearly 500,000 people near the capital Beijing after it reported a second spike in cases.
Brazil currently stands in second place among the list of countries that report the highest number of COVID-19 infections, accounting for over 1.3 million cases of the COVID-19 virus. But what's significant is the rate of infections being reported in the South American nation. The Brazilian government announced that an agreement has been made with Oxford University and a pharmaceutical company to produce a promising coronavirus vaccine, and that it is undergoing tests. Its health ministry said yesterday that the country will pay $127 million and receive material to produce 30.4 million doses in 2 batches in December and January, which would allow it to quickly start inoculation efforts if the vaccine is certified to be safe and effective. China, meanwhile, imposed a strict lockdown on nearly 500,000 people near the capital Beijing to contain a new outbreak today, as authorities warned it was soon to relax over the new cluster of cases. After China largely brought the coronavirus under control, hundreds were infected in Beijing and cases emerged in the neighboring Hebei province. This comes in the backdrop of Beijing ramping up coronavirus testing efforts and has tested about a third of the Chinese capital's population so far, a city as authorities seek to control an outbreak stemming from a wholesale market in mid-June. Beijing had collected 8.29 million patient samples for testing and completed 7.69 million tests. Meanwhile, Chinese pharmaceutical company China National Biotech Group said that early human test results for a coronavirus vaccine candidate suggested it could be safe and effective. According to preliminary data, the experimental drug has induced high-level antibodies in all the inoculated participants in a clinical trial involving 1,120 healthy people. In the meantime, the state premier of Victoria in Australia says that the state will enforce coronavirus tests for returning travellers after a sharp spike in infections was reported over the past 2 weeks. The country's second most populous state had 49 new cases reported today, its highest in more than 2 months and the 12th consecutive day of double-digit rises.
Desert locusts invaded Gurugram, which is a satellite city of Indian capital New Delhi yesterday, prompting authorities to ask people to keep their windows shut and bang utensils to ward off the fast-spreading swarms. Delhi's international airport, which borders Gurugram, asked the pilots to take extra precautions during takeoff and landing due to the locusts. Gurugram has never faced a locust attack before, and previous infestations have been mainly confined to some villages in the western state of Gujarat and Rajasthan in the northwest, which shares a border with Pakistan's desert areas. India, which is battling its worst desert locust outbreak in decades, is using specialist vehicles and fire engines to spray insecticides in at least 7 populous states in the north, centre and west of the country. Heavy downpours continue to batter large swaths in southwestern China, causing floodings and mudslides. Many parts of southwest China have been hit by stormy rainfalls for days as the floodwater in some low-lying streets reached over 1 meter deep and inundated many buildings. Since June, continuous downpours have lashed large parts of southern China, and the water levels of many rivers in affected areas exceeded the danger mark. Furthermore, 7,500 people were evacuated in Sichuan in total due to floods. Residential areas and farmland were also damaged by torrential rain. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.